Okay, so far we've snapped off the front bezel. You have to put your steering wheel all the way down. You have to turn the key on and shift it into first. Before we did that, we got our part here from Crutchfield, which will do the door chimes and other chimes. And while sitting in the warmth of our house, because well it's negative something outside, we went ahead and tied up all of our wires together and everything. So, and the stereo comes out with a nut driver. It's a 7mm, and that will remove the screws that are located here on the side and on the other side over here. Okay, now as some people have mentioned, you do have to remove the temperature control as well. The wiring harness behind the radio is extremely short, so once we get this out, we're going to stick our hand up in there and reach around the back side and unclip the wiring harness from the radio so we can remove the radio. Right now the radio only pulls out about 2 to 3 inches. Okay, so now in case you haven't figured it out yet, Chevy in their infinite wisdom went with a different antenna than the norm, so make sure before you get started that you have one of these, which is going to take the Chevy antenna and it's going to convert it over to a regular antenna for us. Now this little clip was a bitch to get off. It took some, you have to push the clip on top here, and it took some definite wiggling of it in order to get it out. So now what we're going to do, we have our new wiring harness here. We're just going to plug that guy right in. Okay, so now that you have your radio out and you're preparing to install your new one, you're going to need to order a kit like this. I got off Amazon when I ordered the radio. But what it does is it comes with these plastic pieces here that you can see my lovely wife is installing on the side of the radio that allow you to screw the radio back into the factory holes. So make sure that you order one of those before you get going too crazy here. And while we are sitting here, here's what the new Chime box sounds like. I stuck mine back here, and it's back up here behind the instrument cluster as per a forum user's suggestion, because of the fact the Chime is a little soft, but that way you can hear it. So there's this little piece that sits back here like this, and you're going to need to remove that out of the picture because the heatsink on the back of the radio is too big and it will not allow the radio to sit in there. Harbor Freight sells a great multi-purpose tool, nice flat cutting blade on it, and it made short work of removing that piece out of there. All that piece does on the back of the old factory radio, you can see there's a little white nub that just sits in there inside that plastic hole. And yeah, so it's with a new radio, it's really a I can't find the purpose for it. So okay, so after screwing it back into place with those mounting hardware in that bag I showed earlier, we are now we are complete. I saw a guy with a Silverado and he had mounted his microphone up here on the top of the instrument cluster. I decided not to mount it there because I didn't want it to be in the way if I ever have to remove the bezel again. It says you can also mount it on top of the steering wheel column if you want to. Once again, I was afraid I'd be in the way of the bezel. So what we did is we ran it out through the top of the bezel up here, and we will put some double-sided tape on it and secure it to the top of the dashboard. All in all, this should probably take you about an hour to do. So that's not bad. Do as much prep work as you can before you come into your vehicle. We should have mounted those mounting brackets on inside the house before we came out here. It would have saved us some time. But otherwise, yeah, this shouldn't take you that long at all. Now it's time to have fun with new